Good morning, everyone. This is Mike.
And I'm Linda.
And we start proceedings with the Society News for Friday, the 6th of October. Tuesdays. The strollers will be meeting this Tuesday, the 10th of October. The stroll will be from Boldner to Yarmouth, with lunch afterwards at the King's Head, Yarmouth. The group will meet for coffee at the end of the Line Cafe at 10:30 a.m. The next session of introducing Millbrook House will take place on Tuesday the 10th of October. This is a chance for anybody to come along and discover what is available in terms of equipment or services to visually impaired people. Introducing Millbrook House is open to everyone who would like to find out more about what is on offer. The sessions run from 10:30 a.m. until 12 p.m. The Dolphins group will be meeting to swim on Tuesday the 10th of October at the Waterside Pool at Ryde. The pool is closed to the public during the session. If you would like to go swimming, please call the Society first to advise us of your level of swimming ability. Please note, lifeguards are in attendance during the session. And on Wednesday, the weekly coffee morning will be held as usual to support the Society this Wednesday, the 11th of October. The coffee mornings are not just for blind and partially sighted people. Anybody can come along and have a cup of coffee or tea, as well as a piece of cake.
The Owls will be meeting Wednesday the 11th of October at 2 p.m. in Millbrook House. The speaker for this week's meeting is Gary Harbour from the Isle of Wight Zoo, and he'll be talking about his life working with animals such as lemurs, meerkats, porcupines, lions and tigers, to name but a few. Please come along to what will be a fascinating insight into the lives of animals living at our very own island zoo. The group lasts approximately 45 minutes, which is then followed by tea or coffee and cake. On Thursday, the Knitters and Natterers are meeting. That's the 12th of October at Millbrook House. The group runs from 10:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. You can knit or just natter. Then later in the afternoon, volunteers come in and read to the group from different topics. The Waverley pub in Carisbrooke is hosting a quiz night in support of the Society on Thursday the 12th of October. The start time is 7:30 p.m. Tickets are £3 per person with 4 to a team. Food is not included but can be ordered before the quiz. Please pre-book tables by calling the Waverley on 522 338.
Any other news? The bowling group will be meeting at LA Bowl in Ryde on Wednesday the 1st of November at 2 p.m. The cost is £3.95, which includes shoe hire. This group is open to all visually impaired people. Please note there is no transport for this group. Wight Harmony have very kindly reserved 24 accessible seats for IWSB service users at Medina Theatre for their show on Friday the 20th of October at 7:30. Several other well-known island singing groups will be performing on the evening. We are inviting expressions of interest to be passed to Laura Jasper, Centre Administrator, on telephone number 52205 or email inquiries@iwsb.org.uk by Monday the 9th of October 2017. Transport may also be provided by IWSB once we have an idea of interest and numbers. Tickets will cost £10 for adults and £8 for old age pensioners. We are now taking orders for large print calendars and diaries for 2018. If you placed an order last year, then a new order form will be on its way to you. If you have not placed an order before but would like to, or would like more information, please call Laura Jasper, Centre Administrator, on telephone number 52205 or email inquiries@iwsb.org.uk. The story writing competition is gathering momentum, so if you are feeling creative, why not enter, as there are some great prizes to be won. Entry forms must be returned by Friday the 10th of November.
And now for scaffolding news. We're unable to include end dates as many are extended on a week-by-week basis. Also included are tables and chairs permits that have been issued in the past week. In the Bay Area, current scaffolds are at Lloyd's Bank, Regent Street, Shanklin, Carlton Hotel, Esplanade, Sandown, Shanklin Theatre, Prospect Road, Shanklin. New scaffolding is due up on the 9th of October at 9 East Cliff Road, Shanklin, and on the 10th of October at the Cooperative Funeral Care, 76 Regent Street, Shanklin. And in the Cowes area, current scaffolds, development site Castle Street, East Cowes, Moira House, Sun Hill, Cowes, 3 Bell Cottages, Medina Road, Cowes, Pelham House, 9 Bath Road, Cowes, and current hoardings 272 to 283 Arctic Road, Cowes, and 93 High Street, Cowes. In the Newport area, current scaffolds are Nippert Court, West Street, Newport, 2 Chapel Street, Newport, 38 Key Street, Newport, 34 Caesars Road, Newport, 21 Chapel Street, Newport, in the car park, and 18 Lugley Street, Newport.
And concluding the Newport reading is the Cooperative Funeral Care at 61 St James's Street, also on Trafalgar Road at Newport. New scaffolding is due up on the 10th of October at 20 Holyrood Street, Newport. And moving on to the Ryde area, current scaffolds are St Mary's Church Ryde along St Mary's Passage, Oasis Dental Practice, 9 Melville Street Ryde, 2 West Street Ryde, the Yarbridge, 99 New Road Brading, Little Bramley Rope Walk Sea View, LP's Cafe, Stanfield House, Circular Road Sea View, the 18 Nelson Street Ryde, Chocolate Apothecary, 7 Esplanade Ryde. New scaffolding is due up on the 10th of October at 10 East Street Ryde. In the West Wight area, current scaffolds are Cornerways, the Broadway Totland, Mulberries, High Street Ryde. The Ventnor area, current scaffolds are 47 Moorview, God's Hill, Cliffview, Hamborough Road, Ventnor, 4, 5 and 6 Dudley Road, also at Ventnor. That concludes the scaffold news. We move on to this week's In Touch. In Touch in this week's episode. News, views and information for people who are blind or partially sighted. Jackie Brown wants better access to domestic white goods, which don't require sighted help to set up. Robin Christopherson from AbilityNet suggests smart options which use apps, speech and Wi-Fi to enable a blind person to take control of their domestic appliances. Jackie is concerned, however, that not everyone is comfortable using smartphone technology, and the demise of the button and tactile switches will leave some people behind. Simon Cox of Cobalt Systems talks about the issues around producing specialist equipment, but says his company has just launched a new talking induction hob. And then this concludes this week's In Touch. Tom Walker reports from Worcester New College on a new innovation hub which aims to give students and the public better access to assistive technology. We now move on to the County Press for the 6th of October 2017. And we have two headlines. The first one is, "We had to make tough decisions." And the second one is, "Health Trust heading for financial infusive care."
The first headline we had there was, "We had to make tough decisions." And the Gurit bosses say no choice as market shrinks. Around 70 jobs are to go at Gurit's Newport factory, with bosses saying that they had no choice other than to move part of its production to Spain. Pre-preg production, where composite fibres are pre-impregnated with resin, is currently carried out at two Gurit sites, its factory at St Cross Business Park, Newport, and at Albacete in Spain. Blaming a decline in demand, the composites manufacturer announced this week it was no longer viable to run both sites, and the entire pre-preg operation would be moved to Spain. Newport site manager James Barnett said the company had reached critical mass in terms of falling production levels, which had dropped to less than 30% of capacity. Although the Spanish factory is less well equipped, the move will cost £3.9 million and 40 new staff will be needed. Mr. Barnett said that costs were lower and it was closer to customers who were largely based in mainland Europe. The question of Spain or the UK is one we debated a great deal. The decision was based on two factors, proximity and cost. The UK accounts for less than 10% of sales, said Mr. Barnett, adding Brexit was not a factor. One staff member told the CP they had expected job losses, but the scale had come as a shock. Mr. Barnett said, "What we are going through is difficult. We will do what we can to minimise the impact, but ultimately it's a relocation of a significant part of the plant's activities. The company has not taken this decision lightly. It is regrettable, but we have to protect the remaining pre-preg business." Phased redundancies will start next month, with around 70 job losses likely by the summer. Mr. Barnett said staff would be redeployed where possible, although vacancies were limited, and the company, which had strong links with recruiters and other manufacturers, would help them find new jobs. He said Gurit was an open, transparent and socially responsible company. Although the news follows 90 job losses just 2 years ago, Mr. Barnett said the future of the Newport factory was secure. Other areas of work at the site, which employs more than 300 people, including product design and testing, automotive work, customer service and technical support, will not be affected. MP Bob Seeley said he hoped redundancies could be kept to a minimum. Gurit remains a big employer on the island, and it's a comfort to know other parts of the business will not be affected, he said.
Our second headline, Health Trust heading for financial intensive care. Island health bosses are having to borrow cash from the Department of Health to pay its staff, it was revealed this week. The Isle of Wight National Health Service Trust is on the verge of being put into financial special measures as it struggles with a projected £26 million deficit and having to fork out almost £1 million a month on agency staff to plug recruitment holes. The trust was placed in care-related special measures in April after inspectors raised serious concerns around safety, and with the trust's finances strained by a number of factors, including the agency spending, It could be followed by financial special measures. If that happens, interest rates on loans could double, according to Deputy Chief Executive Frank Sims. It could also affect the ability to recruit new staff. The Trust has come up with a financial recovery plan to improve its position to an £18 million deficit, and directors gave their full support on Wednesday's board meeting. Departments will be asked to look at their spending and either justify it or look at potential savings. Interim Chief Executive Maggie Oldham said, "What we are not going to do is panic, because making quick decisions now will come back on us in the long run. We currently have 101 staff vacancies and are using an extraordinary amount of agency staff. We have got to be responsible for raising the bar and focus on delivering good quality services."
Annual Harp Festival is music to the ears. Enjoy a diverse range of exciting and inspiring performances from exceptional musicians at the 4th Annual Harp on Wight Festival later this month. On Friday, the 20th of October, Anne Denholm, the officially appointed harpist to His Royal Highness Prince of Wales, will open the event with a highly anticipated concert at All Saints Church, Ryde. The popular Saturday afternoon concert will offer a performance platform for two leading international harpists who recently shone in a competition organised by French harp manufacturer Camac. The Camac competition is for harpists under 30 years old who have attained conservatoire standard. The winner, Noela Colonna from Spain, studies at Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance, while Singaporean runner-up Nicolette Chin is at the Royal Academy of Music. Harp on Wight is looking forward to welcoming these two highly talented young ladies to the festival. At the start of this concert, Harp on Wight's under and over 18 composition competition winners will be announced. Entrants were asked to create a short piece of music for solo harp with the theme of The Music of Angels. Compositions came from as far afield as Hong Kong, Mexico and America, and competition judge and harpist Fran Barsby will perform the two winning pieces. Ryde Methodist Church will host a dynamic and engaging concert from charismatic Italian harpist Adriano Sanguinetto on Saturday evening, while the Sunday schedule also includes a rare performance from virtuoso Scottish harpist and composer Savorna Stevenson. Her style strongly reflects her Scottish roots, but also crosses barriers between classical, folk, jazz, and world music. Steve Ketley will be joining her with his tenor and soprano saxophone and flute, and this delightful collaboration will be an experience not to miss. The festival takes place between October the 20th and 24th, and the box office at Ryde Methodist Church, Garfield Road, will be open every day during the festival between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. You will also find a wonderful free exhibition of harps made by national manufacturers here, with instruments, harp accessories, CDs and sheet music on sale. Tickets can also be purchased in advance by phoning 01983 730 930.
There's a royal seal on Careers Fair. Prince Edward enjoyed the Careers Fair at the Royal Yacht Squadron so much that he stayed twice as long as expected. The Earl of Wessex spoke to students and stall holders and ended up staying for longer than the 30 minutes originally allotted for his visit. Trustee for organisers, the Royal Yacht Squadron Isle of Wight Foundation, Susie Sheldon, said, "He was very enthusiastic and knowledgeable. He was very interested in the young people and very good at speaking to them. he made time to speak to every stallholder at the careers fair. The fair was aimed at students aspiring for a maritime career. Sixth form students from across the island were invited to attend, with the RYSF providing transport. Stalls included the Royal Navy, Red Funnel, Hover Travel, the Ocean Youth Trust and Admiral Marine Yacht Insurance, among others.
Osborne rosebeds to have Dame's blooms. Dame Judy Dench returned to the Isle of Wight last Saturday, this time cast in her role as patron of the Friends of Osborne House. During a black tie gala evening, she was surprised with a gift from the Friends that her namesake roses will be planted in the Osborne garden, restoring a Victorian rosebed to its former glory. Dame Judy Dench roses have scented apricot colours, blooms, and have been developed by David Austin Roses. The rosebed will be planted in November, and Dame Judy was presented with a potted bush as a token. She also received a desk paperweight of local island glass with a symbolic myrtle enclosed, sat on a handcrafted base by mulberry tree wood turnery. Secretary of the Friends of Osborne, Maya Tolley, said she loved the surprise and loved that her roses were going to be part of Osborne House. The evening was fantastic and went without a hitch. She wants to come back again and be involved, so hopefully we will see her again.
A woman aged 70 admits harassing a family. A 70-year-old woman said she had put poison down in a garden where children were playing, a court heard. Vanessa Sheaf of Brook Lane, Chillerton, had engaged in harassment of the Gore family throughout 2016, swearing over the fence at all members of the family, including comments made directly to the children. Vivian Ducey, prosecuting, told the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court. Sheaf would stare at the children over the fence, making them feel uncomfortable, he said. On one occasion, she told the family she had put poison down where the children played. Another time she started pulling the fence in an aggressive manner, Mr. Ducey said. Sheaf was spoken to by police on 2 occasions before the case was taken to court. This has impacted the lives of the Gore family, and they just want it to stop. They have had enough of her, Mr. Ducey said. Defending Sheaf, Lee Peckham said his client had never been in trouble before, so this was a matter of shame for her. Mr. Peckham said Sheaf was a single woman who owned and looked after a number of pet animals which were her main friends. She had planted a hedge between the 2 properties which would grow tall enough so they didn't have to see each other in their gardens, Mr. Peckham said. Since the criminal charge was brought against her, Sheaf has been keeping well away from the Gore family with no contact, Mr. Peckham said. Sheaf, who pleaded guilty to the charge of harassment, was given a 9-month community order by magistrates with 15 rehabilitation days. She must pay £85 court costs, an £85 victim surcharge and a fine of £20.
Island treasure finds. Rare gold and silver finds have been declared treasure by inquests, leaving the owners free to sell or pass them on to museums. 3 Anglo-Saxon Merovingian gold tremises coins include a stylized bust on the obverse and winged Victory holding a wreath. They date to the 6th century and were found near Shalfleet by Peter Peach. A complete but slightly damaged silver thimble commemorating the marriage of Charles II and Catherine of Braganza was found near Shorewell by Sean O'Brien. A medieval silver-gilt annular brooch had raised letters forming the name of one of the wise men, Melchior. It was found near Shalfleet by Alan Richardson. A medieval silver coin of Ivan Sisman, Tsar of Bulgaria from 1371 to 1395, had been adapted, possibly to form a brooch. It was found near Gatcombe by Derek Johnson.
A councillor steps in to help rescue tower. Plans are in hand to rescue an iconic Victorian folly from decay. Apley Tower, which overlooks Ryde Sands, is now disused, and Ryde East Isle of Wight Council member Michael Lilly says urgent repairs are needed. I am working with the Friends of Apley and council officers on developing a viable future sustainable plan for the tower, he said. I arranged a positive visit by the Architectural Heritage Fund in September 19th about funding for a feasibility plan and the development of a proposal which can be submitted to the Isle of Wight Council, which owns the tower. He said he was talking to many of the groups which use Apley Park about its future use and that of Apley Beach. The recent summer football and fun runs alongside tree climbing, rowing and archery really bring the park alive and show what an important healthy resource it is. Councillor Lilly said he wanted more people to use a green space which had benefits for physical and mental well-being.
Passchendaele Service. A service to remember the many islanders who fought and died or were wounded in the Battle of Passchendaele during the First World War is to be held at Carisbrooke Castle. The event will be held at the Chapel of St Nicholas in Castro, the site of the Isle of Wight War Memorial, at 4 p.m. on Thursday. Due to the limited seating in the chapel, you should advise the Lieutenancy Office if you wish to attend by calling 0797 12 34 809.
Hovercraft back in service soon. Hover Travel hope to restore the new Solent and Island Flyer hovercraft to service over the next month. The craft were grounded following an internal investigation due to technical problems with the propellers. Last week, Hover Travel said it hoped to start refitting propellers to one craft during the next few days, with the other craft getting the same upgrade in the next few weeks. During October, customers will travel on a combination of the four hovercraft, including the older Islander Express and Freedom 90. Managing Director Neil Chapman said in an email to customers, "Speaking to many of you over the last few weeks, I fully understand your key priorities, apart from safety, which are reliability and on-time performance, and I would like to reassure you all my staff and myself are totally committed to these important objectives. As I mentioned in my previous update, the implementation of these craft for the future has taken much longer than expected, and we want to thank you for your support during this time. So, to conclude, while you may not have seen much happening on the pad, as some of you have noted to me, rest assured, behind the scenes, a considerable amount of work has been undertaken to ensure we return Solent Flyer and Island Flyer back into operating the fastest service across the Solent.
Cut in call wait times at Council. Islanders are now waiting only a short time when phoning the Isle of Wight Council after extra funding was ploughed into its contact centre. The improvements mean people should speak to someone in 2 minutes on average by December, with the operation already close to that target, a report to councillors has said. Around £100,000 was earmarked to bolster the contact centre's technology and handlers, as some residents were waiting up to 40 minutes to speak to staff at the start of the year. Council leader, Councillor Dave Stewart, vowed to tackle fears some vulnerable people could not get through to seek help.
Sad farewell as attraction closure ends charity link. Walsing Waters closed its doors at the weekend, signalling the end of a long partnership with Ryde Rotary. The wishing well, built and installed by members at the attraction back in 1994, has enabled the club to send more than £250,000 to the charity Water Aid, which works to provide clean water and sanitation in the world's poorest countries. Club members marked the occasion by attending one of the final performances of the show to thank the owner, Alex Donald, and his staff for their support. President Beryl Ely said, "We are incredibly grateful to Alex for allowing us to site the wishing well at Walsing Waters and for promoting it at the end of each performance. We are also grateful to one of our members, John Busby, who has gone in each week for the past 17 years to empty and clean the well and then count and bank all the coins collected. He estimates he's counted in the region of £190,000 in that time. As previously reported, the Isle of Wight Council is not renewing the attraction lease after 15 years at Westridge."
Roads for upgrading work. 2 sections of the main road serving Cowes are set to be upgraded soon. Island Roads is due to resurface Newport Road between its junction with Nodes Road and Three Gates roundabout in a scheme due to run over 5 weekday nights between October the 18th and the 24th. The work will be carried out at night from 7:30 p.m. until 6 a.m. Then, on October the 31st and November the 1st, Island Roads will return to resurface the Newport Road section between Three Gates Road roundabout and Mill Hill Road. Once again, the work will be undertaken overnight to reduce inconvenience.
The Yarmouth Festival confirms it will be back in 2019. The Yarmouth Old Gaffers Festival will not be held next year, but will return in 2019. The festival attracts tens of thousands of people into the town during the 3-day event, but took a break in 2016 before returning this year. Yarmouth Old Gaffers chairman Debbie Cotton confirmed, "We decided in 2015 to run it every 2 years because of rising costs, and this is still the case. It's the largest event on the south coast run by volunteers, and most of it is free. But we have to raise around £100,000 to put it on. This year the event was exceptional, and I think this was due to the fact we didn't hold it last year. It gives everyone a chance to regroup. We still desperately need more volunteers to come on board and help us out. It takes so much effort to hold an event of this size. We are so grateful to the support we've had from Wightlink, Visit Isle of Wight, the Harbour Commissions and the West Wight Police team, and we hope they will be there for us again next year. Although there will be nothing happening in the town, there will still be spectacular yachting on the Solent, organised by the Old Gaffers Association at the end of May. The next Yarmouth Old Gaffers Festival, the 21st time it will be held, will be May the 31st, June the 1st and June the 2nd, 2019.
Go ahead for Lake Car Park. Stringent conditions are due to be imposed in an attempt to protect nearby residents from noise and nuisance from a business centre car park. The Isle of Wight Council's Planning Committee approved the application for 25 extra car parking spaces at the Spithead Business Centre at Lake, despite objections from residents, the Parish Council and Ward member Paul Brading. Tuesday's meeting was told work had already started, including removal of dense tree cover which had screened the park from homes, but was halted when the centre's owner was told the development should have planning permission. The agent for the estate owners, Caspar Douglas Properties, Lake Limited, said the spaces were needed to replace those lost to the adjacent Aldi development and to address health and safety parking concerns. The area was sold to Aldi by the former owner, said Oliver Cooper. The height of the land and trees and shrubs should mitigate the impact of parking. The committee unanimously approved the applications, subject to a comprehensive landscaping scheme being approved by the committee chairman, the head of planning and the local member, after consultation with the parish council.
Slippery road solutions are sought. Island Roads and the Isle of Wight Council have pledged to work together to solve the problem of slippery road surfaces, which are allegedly putting horses and their riders at risk. Island MP Bob Seeley, leading councillors and representatives from Island Roads met last Friday at County Hall to thrash out a strategy to help riders. Among the ideas floated at the meeting were creating permissive pathways in fields next to slippery roads, which could be used by riders, designating verges for horse riders, and crossing points on roads linking the island's network of bridleways. As previously reported, horse riders are worried about what they say are slippery road surfaces, which they fear could lead to death or serious injury to both owners and their animals. In June, Georgia Headley Ward, aged 22, of Brook, was left heartbroken after her horse of 15 years, Archie, slipped and had to be put down. Island Roads say resurfacing materials meet required safety and quality standards and are used extensively throughout the UK. During last Friday's meeting, it was revealed 21 crossing points across the road network have been identified which could link its bridleways. Isle of Wight Council Contracts Manager Bill Murphy said options to improve road safety for horses could be incorporated into the island plan, which was currently being reviewed. Councillor Ian Ward, Cabinet Member for Highways, added, "It is a sensitive issue and people have strong feelings about it. We have a problem and we want to solve it, and the only way we can do that is if we all work together."
Mast plan a mystery to parish council. Mobile phone companies have been told to improve their communication skills after it emerged a 15-metre mast is planned for Nettleston Green. A meeting of Nettleston and Seaview Parish Council was told if an application was approved, mobile phone equipment would be shared by operators on a section of the green next to Gibbs Well Field. Councillors were told the companies had ruled out other locations, but the reasons the latest site had been chosen remained unclear. They have done none of the consultation they're required to carry out with the nearby primary school, said Chairman Councillor John Turner. But Councillor Sally Rivlin said the council should support identifying sites that enhanced poor mobile phone performance in the parish. Joe King said, "We have a huge problem with mobile phone signals. I agree about this location, but we should look for solutions." The committee agreed to seek a meeting to discuss potential alternatives. The Nettleston proposal followed the Isle of Wight Council, turning down a 15-metre mast planned for Seaview Recreation Ground. The parish council was among objectors to the scheme, which is subject to an appeal.
Expansion plans for Ryde Swimming Pool. Ambitious expansion plans have been announced for Ryde's waterside pool. The Waterside Community Trust, which saved the Canoe Lake pool from the Isle of Wight Council closure, has won the promise of £50,000 from Sport England. The news followed it winning charitable status. The Trust plans to match the grant with its own cash, including that raised with a fundraising drive, and seek a bank loan for the rest of the money. If the new building gets planning permission, it will open as a multi-use fitness studio and still be adjacent to the existing swimming pool enclosure and have direct access to the existing changing rooms. Trust Chairman Ian Jenkins said, "This will greatly increase sport and leisure opportunities available in Ryde. Since Sport England announced the award, we have been extremely busy appointing architects and a structural engineer to begin the design and construction of this much-needed indoor space. Some activities being considered are aerobic exercise, dance, Zumba, tumble tots, yoga, martial arts, and possibly even short mat bowls for local clubs. The new building is within the decked area of the pool building where the old children's paddling pool and the larger learner pool were. The existing cafe will not be affected. The waterside was taken over nearly 6 years ago from the Isle of Wight Council and run as a not-for-profit enterprise. It has a thriving membership and is a training base for Ryde beach guards. The pool and the Canoe Lake Splash Park cost more than £1,000 a day to run, supported by income and funding from Ryde Town Council. The Trust recently announced improvement plans for both the pool and the Splash Park.
Major works for Lake Hill. Island Roads is to begin a major scheme to repair the retaining wall at Lake Hill later this month. The project to re-render sections of the wall between Brownlow Road and Ranelagh Road is currently due to begin on October the 30th and last 4 weeks. The work will be undertaken between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. and traffic lights will be in place.
Ireland in running to host UK Pride. The Isle of Wight is in the running to host UK Pride 2018. 6 Pride organisations have thrown their hat into the ring to host the national event next year. Isle of Wight Pride, Exeter Pride, Folkestone Pride, Liverpool Pride, Preston Pride and Pride Cymru. They will each make their case at the annual conference of the UK Pride Organisers Network, that's UKPON, which will be held in Blackpool later this month. The winner will be chosen by the Pride organisations in attendance and each has 1 vote. The first Pride took place at Pride in Hull in July, attracting visitors from across the UK. UKPON co-chair Andy Train, who is also vice-chair of Pride in Hull, said, "At Pride in Hull we were delighted to have the honour of hosting the first UK Pride, and it's a tribute to the impact it had on our Pride to see 6 Prides bidding for next year's event. The movement is growing across the UK and we have had more than 20 new Prides this year. UK Pride helps to create a focal point for 1 Pride each year to help increase visibility and awareness." Shane Jackson, Youth Pride Committee Chair at Isle of Wight Pride, said, "UK Pride status will enable the island to build on the success of the Isle of Wight Pride and create a major celebration of diversity and inclusivity, showing the rest of the UK what an amazing place it is. The winning Pride will be announced at around 3 p.m. on Sunday, October the 22nd, and it will be live streamed on Facebook." And we are told that now we say goodbye to you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good morning, everyone. This is County Press, Barry reading, and we begin with the letters as usual. Property market dangerous for Isle of Wight Council, from Karen Terry of Knighton. I would like to add my concerns about the decision taken by the Isle of Wight Council to enter the commercial property market using taxpayers' money. In any times this will be risky, but in today's climate this is reckless. Thousands of jobs have already been lost in the city, and if Brexit does not go to plan, which I believe will be the case, there will be thousands of job losses all over the country. I remember the 80s when the news stated daily the number of new job losses. What a strange country we live in, where councils are free to borrow to gamble with taxpayers' money, but not able to borrow to build social housing. I note the decisions on purchase of properties will be made by John Metcalfe, Chris Ward and Stuart Hutchinson. Would these people please inform the readers of the county press of their experience in buying commercial property for investment purposes? If this gamble proves to be disastrous, the Isle of Wight will suffer greatly. It has already suffered so much with the much reduced grant from the government. No one will want to take their holidays on the island. It is already a very different place to the one it was 10 years ago.
Good morning, it's Pauline. Another letter. Don't blame little garages. The letter's from Cliff Bennett from Yarmouth. The CP ran a story, 22nd 9/17, that the opening of Asda had proved to be good news for the motorist, as its aggressively low fuel price had forced the other supermarkets to lower their prices in response. Unfortunately, this has not been such good news for the independent fuel retailer. The supermarkets have always used fuel sales as a loss leader. They have such a massive range of products that any forecourt losses can be absorbed by manipulating in-store prices. When interviewed, any supermarket PR spokesperson will say how they want to work in tandem with local small businesses. But the truth is, and always has been, that they want to bury them. The evidence can be seen in any high street anywhere on the Isle of Wight. For years now, many island motorists have been under the impression the small fuel retailer is ripping them off because of the big difference in pump litre price, but nothing could be further from the truth. They do not have the benefit of huge purchase power the supermarkets have, which makes the buying price dearer. Operating a petrol forecourt is one of the most expensive business enterprises. The cost of installing and maintaining the equipment is enormous. The coming of self-service has meant installation of expensive and delicate computerised equipment to ensure communication between the pumps and the tills. This requires expensive maintenance contracts, as any component failure causes a shutdown. Every few months, vital ancillary equipment has to be tested and certificated. Every 2 years, tanks of a certain age have to be electronically tested for integral continuity. Long opening hours means double shifting staff over a 7-day week at the bigger sites, which is a huge expense. It is impossible for them to survive with further falls in volumes. Nearly all have the backup of workshops and car sales facilities to offset forecourt losses, and their fuel sales have become loss leaders for completely different reasons to the supermarkets. When I started work as a tanker driver for Vectis Oil more than 30 years ago, there were 63 Isle of Wight independent petrol stations. There are now 12, and all are vulnerable. I say to the motorist, make your choice and pay your money, but don't accuse the small retailer of ripping you off. He is just trying to survive.
And now we have Alistair Steen of Bembridge, who writes, despite being a Bembridge parish councillor, I write in a personal capacity to correct statements made in the article Budget Row Descends into Slander Accusation on the 22nd of September 17, and to refute the allegation made. Invited by the chairman, I explained the 2013/14 precept levied £10,000 for the refurbishment of the high street toilets. This was ring-fenced and placed into the council's earmarked funds budget, where it remained unspent. In late 2015 or 2016, it was transferred into general reserves, where it lost its ring-fencing. I quoted the financial regulations which required such decisions to be fully discussed and agreed by the council. I explained, as there are no records of this, there was therefore no authority for the transfer, and that the money should be returned to earmarked funds and spent. Contrary to the article, I made no reference to the clerk, her title or her role, nor did I infer that any one individual had done anything wrong. As I merely stated the facts and did not refer to or criticise any individual, there was no slander. When I refuted the allegation of slander, I was, as stated, quote, gagged from further participation. The financial issue was not discussed further. Many at the meeting think I was set up and the issue deliberately avoided. Finally, I do not believe raising serious issues about parish finances and how the community's precept is used is being, quote, outspoken, as the article suggested. On the contrary, I believe it is the duty of every good councillor.
And this is Letter of the Week. The headline is Made Me Proud to be Islander. It's from Paddy McHugh of Newport. As the parade organiser for last week's Isle of Wight Day parade, I would just like to thank all the participants who kindly gave up their time voluntarily to be part of what I can only describe as a truly awesome day. I take my hat off to everyone, from the marching bands and the schools to all other organisations which took part. Even Ride Aspire, which fed everyone who wanted to be fed for free. People could make a donation if they wished. Put simply, all I wanted to say was thank you to everyone for celebrating what we as an island do best. I feel very proud, and so should everyone.
And here we have a letter from Councillor Carl Love of East Cowes. It's headed, Don't Let Trump Bring Down Our Town. East Cowes is already a royal town, and it's also full of inspirational innovation, especially for our world transportation heritage which continues today. Our town's business hub hosts GKN and many other businesses who are creators, not followers, of outstanding technological achievements. The Isle of Wight Council and Government must take every step possible to protect the East Cowes business hub, investments and our skilled workforce. We need to shout louder about our significance. If valuable US and Irish contracts are placed in danger by the political games being played by Donald Trump's US Commerce Department, it deters creative innovation and endangers technological advancement and engagement in other parts of the world. America first, as Donald puts it, slows international cooperation and achievements. It is not simply about exporting and engineering, as Julian Critchley refers to. Theresa May also needs to express more than disappointment at the Bombardier tariff issue. She needs to spell out the risks to technology and how this could negatively impact on the US, which relies on its partners to support their industrial achievements. We do not live in isolation of each other. World trade and great minds collaborating really matters. East Cowes is an engineering transportation world giant, on par with other technology creators, such as Silicon Valley. We don't produce a huge volume of goods, but what we produce does matter to the whole world. Keeping our town's business reputation squeaky clean really matters, and that is why I keep pressing the issues about the quality and service specifications of the floating bridge. We are being watched worldwide. We cannot risk the confidence of investment by pussyfooting around with the floating bridge. Creating the right conditions for growth are the priority now, and especially as Red Funnel has now been granted consent to develop its terminals, which actually reduces the acreage available for marine development. I'm not saying we don't need a new terminal. It could have been better thought out and implemented, and this is what county and local politicians started. This is a step in the right direction, but not helpful if our government body chooses not to see the bigger picture. There can be no uncertainty for Kingston Park development. Our council or government must find the money with no quibbles attached. There is too much at stake. One also has to remember that there are many other developments being discussed for East Cowes, and the way forward is to fully engage with local people, listen and act upon that learning from them. The floating bridge is an example of how not to communicate, which can be interpreted negatively and subliminally by world investors. And this is not the way to or to work with the local communities either. A happy community is what investors always look to engage with. I, for one, will challenge anyone who does not listen and respond to our local community needs, or places at risk our world heritage and industrial reputation, including Mr. Trump.
And this is a letter from David Deakin, Totland Bay. The heading is, "What a huge difference in service level." One night recently, just as we were thinking of going to bed at about 9:45 p.m, there was a terrific downpour hammering on the skylight in our dining room. Suddenly, the noise was accentuated by a pouring sound. Investigation revealed a stream of water issuing directly from the skylight frame. We two octogenarians went to action stations, moved the furniture, mustered buckets and towels, verified the weather forecast and realised there was nothing more we could do. A neighbour of similar dotage provided moral support. First thing the next morning, we made an urgent call to our well-used Newport window glazing supplier, desperate to get some repair action underway while the weather held. 3 phone calls pleading the urgency of the situation, even for someone to come out and assess the problem, were to no avail. The earliest offer from the completely unconcerned staff was for a week later. When asked if all their jobs were as urgent, the response was, "Are you suggesting that we should postpone them just to please you?" Following a recommendation, we next contacted Window Doctor in Newport. What a difference! An immediate response was forthcoming. Men would be with us in some 90 minutes. They carried out a thorough examination of the problem for 45 minutes, but concluded it required some roof tile work outside their terms of reference. "No charge, sir," they said. "We're sorry that we were unable to fix it. No prizes for knowing that our business will be going in a different direction in the future."
And now we come to looking back 100 years ago, October the 6th, 1917. There was laughter at the Newport Council meeting over the confusion surrounding sugar supplies, with some receiving not enough and others receiving far too much. The clerk reported that they had seen an additional quantity of sugar that had been released for preserving fruit. He applied for an allocation for the island. However, he received a supply so small that it was not fit for purpose. Meanwhile, Mr. Shepherd reported he knew one applicant who asked for £35 and had instead received £53. The water surveyor reported there was a decrease of 93,600 gallons of water in the reservoir following an engine issue. Despite the engine repairs, Carisbrook residents were left without water for a week.
75 years ago, October the 10th, 1942, an unusual accident took place at Core Hill after dark on Saturday. 2 horses belonging to an army officer strayed from their stables in Binstead Road to Newport Road, where one ran into a car and was killed. The other was injured in a collision with a Southern Vectis bus. The old marketplace was so overrun with rabbits and poultry on Thursday for the annual show that animals were turned away at the door. More than 200 entries were submitted, with more unable to be accommodated due to a lack of space.
And 50 years ago, October the 13th, 1967, Plessy apprentices had their ingenuity put to the test when they were asked to design and build an inexpensive ground station to receive signals from satellites. The apprentices were given £50 budget, £832 in today's money. 6 months' work went into the system, and it was then used with American satellites to produce clear pictures of the Earth's surface. mud-caked cars made their way across the island in the 15th annual Isle of Wight car rally. The race was dogged with difficulties, including an engine that never developed full power and an ailing clutch which gave out outside the Channel View Hotel. The first car home was a 4-year-old Mini Cooper, which broke the succession of top placings by Cortinas.
25 years ago, October the 16th, 1992, chart-topping heartthrob Jason Donovan announced his appearance at the Ryde Arena. The former Neighbours and West End star was set to appear at the end of December, with the hopes that he would be followed by other big names. Arena manager Dale Young said if Islanders turned out to ensure a sell-out concert, Ryde could be included in the circuit for other major pop stars. Civil servants on the island asked for extra money to go shopping on the mainland. Unions representing several thousand civil servants submitted a claim to the Treasury to cover the cost of 4 return ferry trips a year. They claimed they needed an extra £174.50 a year to pay for the cost of having to visit department stores such as Marks and Spencer's and Littlewoods, as well as visiting relatives and taking holidays.
And 10 years ago, October the 5th, 2007, an island couple have organised a carnival in Turkey based on the traditional Ventnor procession. Peter and Chrissy Clark planned to recreate a carnival as part of the week-long Calais Festival, based on a summer fancy dress theme. Peter said, "There are 8,000 expats living in the area, and we hope a lot of them will come along and support the carnival." The floor of St Thomas's Church in Ryde was reduced to rubble after the Isle of Wight Council took action to preserve the building's heritage. The £40,000 underheated flooring was pulled up on Wednesday, following a long-running dispute between the council and the company which subleases the building, and is hoping to transform it into a heritage centre. And this page is completed with a photograph of fitness fans who got the chance to meet the waistline Wonder Woman. Islanders swapped their exercise videos for the real thing when Rosemary Connolly led an aerobics extravaganza at Medina Leisure Centre in 2007. Around 200 people attended 2 mass workouts as part of the Isle of Wight Diet and Fitness Roadshow. And now we come to an article here, Protector of the Isle. Emily Pearce meets a man charged with guarding our AONB. Jonathan Bacon is used to asking the government for more money. As the leader of the Isle of Wight Council, when the island independents were in power at County Hall, appeals for additional funding to prop up the island's ailing public services and plug the social care budget deficit were a regular occurrence. Those pleas were, it must be said, largely unsuccessful, so let's hope he has more luck as the newly appointed chairman of the AONB partnership, the independent body responsible for managing and protecting the island's areas of outstanding natural beauty, AONB. Almost half of the island is designated an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's hugely important in attracting tourists and therefore vital to the economy. Efforts to significantly enhance AONB sites, however, or even designate new ones, would require more money. Last year the partnership received £127,853 from Government Department DEFRA and £36,722 from the Isle of Wight Council, the latter largely in kind through the provision of an office at Seaclose, equipment and administration costs. In terms in increasing sites, which would help scupper fracking applications, Jonathan said, "Currently there are disparate AONB areas with no clear justification for linking them up. That process would require more staff and resources and there is no hint of that. Everyone should be concerned about fracking. In my view, it cannot be justified anywhere on the island. Ideas mooted previously included applying for national park status and establishing an island version of Cornwall's Eden project, but funding would once again be a sticking point. MP Bob Seeley said he would ask the government for as much support as possible. We need to appreciate the AONB and support the great work the team does. For the future, I want an increase in the amount of land under AONB status to ensure we preserve as much of our landscape for future generations. Jonathan was one of 2 applicants interviewed and has been appointed chairman of an unpaid post for 3 years. He has just lost his Isle of Wight council seat and moved from St Helens to Godshill and was looking forward for a new role. He has already come under fire for failing to protect the AONB while in office. However, specifically in relation to his support for the PTEC tidal energy development as Beauty Spot, Flowers Brook, Ventnor. And surely his appointment was down to the local government merry-go-round, which has seen councillors take up roles on public bodies over the years. I was the executive member for planning, so I have had some responsibility for the AONB. I would hope I was appointed on merit, and not because I was a politician looking for a job, he said in response. With regards to Flowers Brook, the test is whether development is sustainable, and I think it was. Jonathan has also become a director of Isle of Wight Pride and plans to launch a classic car hire business, plus a PR company with Ireland Independent Councillor Julia Baker-Smith. Still a parish councillor, Jonathan has not ruled out a return to politics in the future.
For now, though, his top priority is to develop the AONB's new management plan ahead of public consultation in the spring. The current 5-year plan runs until 2019, and Jonathan would like to see a strengthened plan integrated with the Island Plan, the Council's key planning document, which is also being reviewed. It's never been the case that both reviews are carried out at the same time before, so there is an opportunity here. We can feed the AONB management plan into the Island Plan and make it a specific policy area, said Jonathan. The AONB is so important to tourism and in attracting people to the island to live, work and visit. It brings 2.5 million visitors and accounts for a significant number of jobs in the tourism sector, adding £183 million to the Isle of Wight economy. He said its impact went beyond the environmental benefits of clean air and water, peace and tranquility, to improve people's quality of life and mental well-being and reduce crime and disorder. Specific plans in the pipeline include gaining an internationally recognised dark skies accreditation for the island. Jonathan is working with the Campaign to Protect Rural England and Vectis Astronomical Society and believes it would attract stargazing tourists and see the island designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, recognised for its sustainable development. People think an AONB designation is a barrier to development, but it is not. It's an asset because it ensures development is sustainable and benefits the community, said Jonathan. It's not about putting a glass dome over the AONB. It's about nurturing and protecting it. We want to see development that ensures everyone, tourists and residents, can enjoy the beauty of the island.
And now we have Wight memories. Family tradition held that Private Frederick Adams was killed by a sniper on the Western Front. Private 35606 Frederick James Adams' name appears on the Totland War Memorial, the County War Memorial in Carisbrooke Castle and in Christ Church, Totland Bay. His sacrifice was not in doubt, but when his granddaughter decided to visit his grave, the stories surrounding his death passed down through the generations unravelled. The Commonwealth War Graves Commission revealed that Private Adams of the 11th Battalion, the Worcestershire Regiment, died on January the 14th, 1919, not in France, but in the Balkans, 2 months after the armistice. Aged 40, he was the husband of Millie Adams from Ravilow, Totland Bay, so there was no mistake. On December the 27th, 1909, Frederick Adams had married Amelia Millie Wadden of Christchurch, and precisely 3 years later, to the day, their daughter Frances Margaret was born. It was her daughter Yvonne who uncovered the truth. Private Adams was conscripted in 1916 and during the following winter joined the 11th Worcesters at Salonika on the Mediterranean coast of Greece. The war started with Austria-Hungary's invasion of Serbia following the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and the force at Salonika in support of Serbia was opposed by hostile Bulgarian formations. Adams and his fellow soldiers described enduring dense fog, incessant rain, bitter northerly winds and often snow. The trenches and camp were constantly shelled by enemy artillery, machine gunned and bombed by enemy aircraft. Heavy fighting occurred during skirmishes, aggressive patrols, and as the Salonika force advanced north, set-piece battles before Bulgaria surrendered on September 30th, 1918. Adams' war was not over, though. The battalion was preparing to attack Constantinople when Turkey made peace on October the 31st. Still, Private Adams did not embark for England. Under the peace terms, Romania, which had joined the Allies, would recover from Bulgaria a strip of land, South Dobruja, adjoining the Danube River, and British troops were to supervise the handover. So, on November the 14th, 1918, Frederick Adams found himself beginning a bitterly cold, slow train journey fortified by rum and sparse rations through the snow-covered Balkan mountains. 4 days later, the battalion reached Rashok on the Danube.
Then, on November the 23rd, 11th Worcesters were sent to Dobrik, 74 miles, 120 kilometres, southeast, to quell unrest caused by the unhappy exodus of Bulgarian civilians forced to leave. Herds of livestock, stores of food and forage, cartloads of furniture and household goods behind. Gradually, order was restored, and by the end of January, arrangements for demobilisation began. By then, Private Frederick Adams was dead, neither killed in action on the Western Front nor in the Balkans. The relevant regimental records have not survived. Adams succumbed either to malaria or enteric fever, or possibly cholera. Buried locally, his remains were reinterred in Sofia War Cemetery. Poignantly, he had carried to war the photo of him and his infant daughter. It was taken on August the 27th, 1916, before embarkation. Despite the fact that it was 4 months before her 4th birthday, she was in her best party dress, looking her prettiest, so her dad could take her image to a war from which he would not return.
And now we have my view, Matthew Chatfield, going overboard on a safety message. This summer, like many of us, I've been buzzing across the water regularly. I've used pretty much every ferry route available. And I must confess to a slight feeling of trans-Solent ennui. I wouldn't really wish for it, but there hasn't been much drama on my crossings. If you ever read the news pages of this organ or delve into the untrammelled rantings of Twitter, you would think that every time we set foot on the seagoing vessel, there would be a reason for excitement. Argy-bargy in the toast queue, an overdose of traction engines, or perhaps a small fire, to add what cinema goers might choose to classify as mild peril. But no, my voyages have been steadfastly mundane and peril-free. So I found an alternative way to keep myself diverted, passing sarcastic remarks about the safety warnings. Firstly, can't we just have a way to skip these? Perhaps a button to press so we acknowledge we've heard it and really can't be bothered to hear it all over again. All right, I know we have to have the talk, but if it's so important, why is it easier to listen to? There seems to be a special language and tone for warning messages that is an uncomfortable marriage between a Sunday morning DJ on Radio 2 and a sullen policeman reading you your rights. Do they realise every redundant word makes the whole painful experience just that little bit longer? Imagine how much fury could be avoided if red funnel changed. Please listen very carefully to the following safety announcement, to a simpler, please listen to this safety announcement. I reckon that would save about 1.5 seconds. Multiply that by red funnel's 3.4 million passengers per year, and you get a staggering 59 days of time wasted annually. Imagine listening to that safety announcement for 59 days straight, 24 hours a day. That's how cumulatively annoyed we are all by these seemingly innocent extra words. What's more, those words are sometimes unnecessarily obscure. Life jackets. Wight never tires of saying, must be donned. Donned, did you say? When was the last time anyone used that word outside of a safety announcement? Can't we just go with put on like a normal person? Take that classic, in the event of abandonment. It is a bit harder to translate, but I'll probably go for if we have to get off the ship. However, higher marks go to the new hover travel video, which you can see when they get the new craft working again. When I first saw it, I was ready to scoff, but I had to acknowledge its simple language and presentation. Sure, we are instructed to don a life jacket, which is still stowed under our seats, but hey, there's twinkling music and a smiling lady doing sign language to watch, so the whole process is mercifully brief and painless. So listen out for your favourite phrases as you travel, and may your crossings all be as uneventful as mine.
And this is by Jake Harrison. The heading is School may be gone, but memories linger. As another island high school crumbles and makes way for a modern academy, I'd like to pay a personal tribute to a wonderful place that gave me everything from acne to the Arctic monkeys and much more. Goodbye, Carisbrooke High School, and thank you for the memories. Sadly, this particular school is no longer standing. Rest in peace, Carisbrooke High School. Gone, but certainly not forgotten. The once great school was demolished to make way for a new and improved academy, which is scheduled to start being built as early as next year, with the aim of completion in late 2019. Standing back and witnessing the carnage and destruction of my old school reminded me of the time, when I was a lot younger, I built the perfect sandcastle on the beach, only for a rather large mid-40s belly-busting oaf to knock it over by accident. Or at least that's what he claimed it was, but I knew he was clumsy and not looking where he was going, and he probably didn't really care anyway. I felt a sense of anger, frustration and personal loss. Talk about a crushing blow. You see, the reason I loved the dear old school so much is simply because whenever I passed it, I was instantly flooded with great memories, friends, football and familiarity. I made some great friends at Carisbrooke, both my classmates and even some of my tutors. My favourite teacher by far was Mr. Hooper. He was my first tutor at school and a man of nothing but smiles, wit and brilliant humour. Sir, if you're reading this, then thank you. On the subject of the opposite sex, I was never very good with them. In fact, I was so inept, I can even recall stupidly turning down my first prom date to go on holiday. To that fortunate lady, wherever you are, I'm terribly sorry.
I loved Carisbrooke High so much, And I really think it's because high school is where most of us learn to become idiots. We take the first real steps on the rocky road to adulthood and experimentation. It's where we learn to drink alcohol, take drugs at terribly loud house parties, grow our hair long, and learn to play the guitar badly, have awkward sex with strangers we are never going to re-encounter again, and ultimately set ourselves up for the big bad world of taxes, kids and careers. From the smell of the gymnasium, the dreaded exams, to the awkwardness of making new friends, everything about high school is a truly amazing experience. We were all vital ingredients in a melting pot of teenage rebellion, all crammed in together on one crazy adventure. To all of my friends and former friends, who I no longer keep in touch with, I hope all of you are achieving your goals and dreams. Fancy a beer sometime? I hope that one day we can all have a reunion. Sadly, though, it won't be at our old stomping ground. And finally, while many of my former peers will hopefully share my sadness at the loss of Carisbrooke High School, they should also join me in reminiscing about the fond times we shared, because it is these memories that will live on in our hearts and minds. That's the real tribute Carisbrooke High School deserves. And as I finish this piece, I feel myself smiling, looking back and laughing, loudly, immaturely, like I'm 16 years old again. I suppose high school never really ends, does it? And we have some notices now for various public events. Piano and cello recital. Cellist James Halsey and his pianist daughter Sally Halsey will perform in the first of 3 concerts in the Sunday morning recital series at Key Arts, Newport. Their programme includes cello and piano sonata in E minor, Opus 38 by Brahms, and cello and piano sonata in D minor, Opus 40 by Shostakovich. The recital starts at 10:30 a.m.
Historian Kevin Shaw opens the new season of the monthly Yarmouth Society Talks in the Community Hall of Yarmouth and District on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. The talk is entitled Lord Palmerston, the colourful life story of a forceful character and belligerent patriot. New members welcome.
And it's all aboard next Saturday and Sunday, October the 14th and 15th, for one of the biggest events in the bus and beer enthusiastics year. Ben Bartram, event coordinator, said, following even higher demand for capacity in 2016, when it is estimated we carried some 8,000 passengers over the 2 days, we have invited a few additional vehicles to come and participate. This year we have an unprecedented 70 vehicles visiting us from mainland. To complement the museum's own fleet, a growing number of locally reserved vehicles will also attend. Most of the mainland visitors will operate in service over the weekend, and the variety of the vehicles attending, dating from 1937 to 2000, is sure to rank the weekend as one of the go-to events in the country. Some owners travel considerable distances to participate with vehicles attending from as far as Cornwall, South Wales, Norfolk and Scotland. There is also a vehicle from New Zealand visiting, although it is now retired in the Bristol area where its chassis was originally built.
Curtain Up is performing A Christmas Carol at Totland Church Hall from October the 19th to the 21st inclusive at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are £7 from the Cabin Freshwater, Orchard Brothers Freshwater Bay, FYT Charity Shop Totland, or telephone 754236.
Talk on life as a tailor. Sandown Evening Townswomen's Guild will be hosting a talk by Meg Groves, My Life as a Military Tailor, at its next meeting at St John's Church Annex at 7 p.m. on Thursday. New members always welcome. Further information is available from the Secretary on 401 490.
Dementia Conversations meets monthly at St John's Church Ryde for carers, relatives and friends of people living with dementia to explore issues around dementia. The next meeting is Friday, October the 13th at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It will be an information session about lasting power of attorney. A solicitor will explain what a lasting power of attorney is, how it works and how to set one up. The session is open to everyone. You do not have to be caring for someone with dementia to attend.
Isle of Wight stars of Victoria and Abdul. The island extras who appeared in the film Victoria and Abdul were treated to a special VIP screening of the movie at Cineworld Newport. Organised by the Island People Agency, which supplied 95% of the supporting artists, the extras enjoyed a private screening with their own bar and red carpet photographer.
Art styles on the Isle of Wight. Mark Earp will give a talk, The Island and the Arts and Crafts, Art Nouveau and Art Deco movements, at the next National Trust Association meeting, which takes place on Wednesday at the Riverside Centre, Newport at 2:15. And that's goodbye from Pauline.
And cheerio from Barry. We both hope that you have a very nice weekend and enjoy this fine weather we've got. Thank you.
This is Chris Kane. Isle of Wight Society for the Blind is running the short story writing competition again this year. Here's a reminder of last year's winning 3 categories. First White Christmas Since by Sandra Singleton. Read by Edana Minghella.
The boat rocks and sways gently in the December breeze. Nobody seems to notice. It's packed, buzzing with happy chatter, laughter, and the chinking of cutlery hitting china.
White Christmas by Lily Venables. Read by Robert Glenister.
Blankets of glistening pristine snow line the streets, untouched by human hands. The winter sun gleaming off the icy trails. Snowflakes continue to fall.
A Christmas Surprise by Freya Blamey. Read by Katie Manning.
24th of December 2016. Peter Smith lived alone in a small bungalow in Wootton, at the top of a hill on the Isle of Wight, away from the hustle and bustle of the town.
For more information, visit our website www.iwsb.org.uk. Good luck.
This is the BBC.
Good evening. Tonight, the modern household equipment which has plenty of whistles and bells, but according to some blind people, not enough buttons, and why for some visually impaired students this won't be a problem in the future.
In school I use a brown note, but I heard a brown note touch has come out, so that might be useful as well.
I use Supernova on the laptop, so in Supernova I could change the colour of my screen, so it's not black on white, it's white on black.
More from those students later in the programme. But first, Jackie Brown needs a new washing machine. Is this headline news, I hear you cry? Well, more than you might think, because she's having real trouble finding one that she can use independently, unlike the one she has at the moment. And it's not just washing machines, but a range of other white goods. From our Belfast studio, Jackie explained her problem.
We have a washing machine which we've had for 9 years, and we are at some point, it stands to reason, going to have to replace it. A lot of machines now, you need to do programming of the fabric and the temperature. So you need assistance in some ways to do that, because there are screens, a digital screen, and they come up with this information that you've got to put in before you can press the start button.
So what does this mean to you personally? Because you've actually found this problem yourself, or know that you're going to have this problem.
Yeah, well, I want to look for a machine with a dial primarily that will click, so you can move it round, say once for a 30 degree, twice for a 40 or whatever, And with a little bit of jiggery-pokery, you can do this on some machines. You could put bump-ons, you could use braille labels.
Now, you've actually been round your local white goods stores, I think. I mean, just tell us what you found.
I found several washing machines that had buttons and dials, but as I say, they are digital panels on them, so they require not just choosing a wash, a cycle, it also requires putting in the temperature and the fabric sometimes as well. So there is a bit more to it than just finding the cycle you want and pressing the start button. I have found cookers. Most of the electric cookers now are completely flat tops, so you can't feel the rings at all.
So they're flat screens?
They are totally flat kind of ceramic things. And I even saw one cooker yesterday that had no buttons, no dials, nothing on it whatsoever. It was all touch.
So in a word, what do you want the manufacturers to do?
I think we need more tactile buttons or panels. Even being able to talk to the machine, like an Amazon Echo, like an Alexa type service, where you actually speak to an assistant that's built in.
So you want that in the machine itself?
Yeah, I think it would be great if it was feasible.
OK, well, we'll hear what the organisation representing the manufacturers have to say in a moment. But first, let me bring in Robin Christopherson. Robin founded AbilityNet, which campaigns for accessible equipment and information, and has issued a number of reports about how a whole range of industries have sometimes succeeded, but quite often failed in taking our needs into consideration. Things like banks, supermarkets, airlines, sports stadia. Despite this, say, Robin, you're something of a sceptic about what Jackie wants to see. Can you just explain what your position is on this?
Well, I think Jackie is absolutely right that the days of being able to require manual controls on a white good are rapidly diminishing. You know, bump-ons and labelling with Dymo is going to be increasingly difficult as things become more computerised. Everything is software driven, and that really requires a sort of a software interface patch, perhaps a touch panel or some sort of very sensitive controls rather than big manual knobs. It's just the way that everything is going at the moment. Now, the good news on, for people with a vision impairment, for example, if you can hear, is that Alexa is going to be added into an awful lot of things. We've had lots of announcements from Amazon recently.
Of course, you mentioned one particular manufacturer there, but can you just run us through the sort of other runners and riders in this artificial intelligence race?
Absolutely. So Echo is obviously the most popular virtual assistant out there. Google Home is a very strong competitor. Everyone's anticipating the Home Pod, which is the one that will have Siri built in by Apple. And then, of course, there's Bixby added into Samsung phones and Cortana on the Windows desktop. Now, the more expensive goods tend to be the ones that are connected and have connectivity and almost invariably have an app associated with them. So, and if you have a smartphone, then you can interface with all of these goods with an app that should be accessible, and that would certainly be an area where we would want to campaign.
But there are two problems there, and you've mentioned them both. One is the cost, that you're having to get stuff at the higher end, and the other one is you need a fair amount of technological knowledge to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So what we have been campaigning for at AbilityNet is a lower end solution where there's enough smarts in the device. And if you can have a little Bluetooth, it costs just a few pence to install, chip within that device that can talk to a smartphone or a tablet, then you can control those things without having to go through the internet.
Yeah, the problem I've got with that, Robin, would be perhaps okay for somebody like myself who uses a smartphone. You're always then relying on the software to work for you all the time. If you've just bought a new appliance and you think, well, great, the app's going to do this for me, that I'll be able to use that. And then suddenly there's a new release of the app or a new release of the operating system, and then you're screwed. You've got a washing machine you can't use.
Robin?
Well, basically, you're absolutely right. And the challenge there is to make sure that they respect accessibility, and the guidelines are very clear. And one would hope that they would be able to do that. And that's a much smaller ask then for them to build in accessibility, not just for people with a vision impairment, but right across the disability spectrum into every single one of their products. And there would be a very significant price tag associated with that.
Does that mean that you think that the idea of the one-off machine made for blind people is dead? I mean, I suppose the classic example that we remember with that are things like microwaves, for example.
Microwave.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for everything. And whilst I have replaced my backpack full of self-talking specialist devices with a single smartphone and apps in there that do all of the jobs that these other gadgets did for a fraction of the cost, even when you take into account the cost of the smartphone. And it can do so much more as well. What we'd like to do here, and it literally would cost pence on the price of each good, would be to add in that connectivity and just think of the number of people that are familiar with smartphones.
So if it only costs pence, why aren't they doing it?
Good question.
That's what we've been campaigning for, and if you have a look on the AbilityNet website, you'll see a very lucid article about it that I wrote 3 years ago. So that's how long we've been calling for this particular bit of functionality. But yeah, connected devices is a thing, and they're not going away, and these devices are going to get smarter and smarter with the controls becoming less and less manual. And this would be one answer, but we absolutely need jackies to campaign very loudly and eloquently about building in the sort of Rolls-Royce solutions that would really help people and would have real utility.
And maybe would bring the price down as well
Absolutely.
if they became more popular and more user-friendly.
That's Jackie Brown and Robin Christopherson. Well, we have been talking to the Association of Manufacturers of Domestic Appliances. They had no one who could come onto the programme, but they say that both their association and the individual manufacturers consult with the RNIB to ensure the accessibility of their equipment, and that some of its members offer a free Braille option on their washing machine panels. They say in the future, the large white goods manufacturers are hopeful that the new Wi-Fi connected ranges will offer voice activation. Well, while manufacturers grapple with the technology there, it seems one of the few specialist companies in this field, Cobalt Systems, is giving some thought to it too. Simon Cox, Cobalt's general manager, has been telling me about some of the work they were doing. So, Simon, what exactly in this field are you up to?
Well, a number of people over the last couple of years have been asking for a washing machine. We have been doing a feasibility study on this.
And what are the problems with it? Because presumably if it was easy, you'd have done it by now.
Well, the biggest problem with these products, especially large products like microwave ovens, combination ovens, washing machines, is the cost of developing. We have to be able to buy a machine from a manufacturer that we can convert, because obviously if I was to tool up injection moulds, metal stamping moulds to make the actual washing machine, it would cost millions. Again, like we did with the oven, we need to find a long-term partner where we can buy the ovens in a carcass form, and we can then put our own electronics, software, etc. into that.
So how close are you to doing this with washing machines?
That's a $64,000 question, eh? I'm hoping that it will be sometime in the next year.
But, I mean, you heard the problems that Jackie was having. If you compare it, say, with the microwave, where you're using speech and so forth and simple buttons, what would someone using one of your projected machines be able to do?
Well, it would either work like the microwave, where you've got a membrane switch panel with raised buttons, or it would work where you've got an external, almost remote type box. But basically, we will be able to control the whole washing machine with full speech.
But is there a big enough market for you? Because what we're hearing there is Robin saying you could do all this with a little app, you could put it on your phone, you don't have to cart all this special equipment around with you. Now that's like saying there isn't a future for your kind of company.
I disagree with that, because ultimately there are a lot of people out there that don't use smartphones, elderly people, people that just don't like tech, and actually people that prefer the good old-fashioned one-unit device. I mean, I love gadgets. Trust me, I've got every gadget known to man. But even I couldn't justify a washing machine that worked from an app. Obviously, we wouldn't do it if it didn't make financial sense. And I think it is very achievable from what we've done so far. The only other problem is obviously the logistics of having it delivered, connected up, if there's an issue. They're the sort of things that we're looking at the moment.
One thing that might be music to Jackie's ears, because she mentioned it, is a hob. You've been doing something on that, haven't you?
Yes, that's correct. We've just launched our new product, a single and a double talking induction hob. An induction hob cooks either by temperature, so you can select a temperature. The hob will keep the pan up to the temperature, or alternatively you can cook by power level, and everything is through speech. If you remove the pan, it will say no pan. If you put the pan back on, it will say pan. You can also add a timer to that. Very simple, very safe.
Simon Cox, thank you very much indeed. And if you'd like to know more about that hob, we are going to be reviewing it in a future programme. And we'd like to hear your experience as well. Are you managing to wash your clothes independently? If so, how and what with? You can call our action line for 24 hours after tonight's programme on 0800 044 044, email in touch on bbc.co.uk, or go to our website and click on Contact Us. That's www.bbc.co.uk/in-touch, from where you can also download tonight's podcast. One group who should be well equipped to deal with the gadgets of the future are the students at New College, Worcester. Now, as you would expect of a school dedicated to teaching visually impaired pupils, they are already using digital equipment which has speech, braille and magnification software. But now the school has opened up an innovation hub. Well, to find out exactly what that means, Tom Walker went back to his old school for a guided tour and to meet some of the students who will be using it.
Windows for the work and the school related stuff, and then iOS for their personal and sort of leisure type stuff. So they can pick and choose really what they want.
This is Luke. He's one man who's uniquely qualified to comment on the Innovation Hub because he's doing IT A-level. You're in your final year.
Yes.
How do you feel an Innovation Hub like this is going to help you with your future studies?
Because it gives me a range of different skills and a range of different equipment to use. I was just talking to someone earlier about the different systems that are in this room. There's equipment from tablets to laptops to big screens, and software from iOS on the phones to Windows, and it just teaches you the basics of everything that's out there for when you go into the world of work then, and you're not stuck to one particular system or piece of software.
As we come in on our right-hand side, we've got a large interactive whiteboard.
This is the head of IT, Jonathan Fogg.
That allows you to use apps as you would on an Android device. It also allows you to connect to an iPad or other tablets or to laptops, so you can see what's on the laptop, you can see on the big screen, and vice versa. Over on our left-hand side, we've got a range of technology, including 2-in-1 tablets, laptops and desktops.
Jonathan, tell me about the thinking behind the Innovation Hub, first of all.
To try and encourage our students and teachers to think imaginatively about how they deliver their lessons to the students.
So say, for instance, history or geography. How might that change from the traditional approach then?
With geography, we've now got a large interactive white screen. They can bring up maps. The white screen goes flat and students can stand around it. They can zoom in on the maps. They can pinpoint specific areas, and it's a high quality screen so that they can get a much better view of those maps.
So when we look at the other technology in here, what will that be used for and how will that contribute to the children's learning?
Hopefully what we'll get is a range of different technologies in here so that our students can get experience of using access technology, but also experience of using different standard technologies, so they become familiar with the variety of technology that's available.
So it's a touch screen? Yes. Yeah. So it's a touch screen, same as Chelsea's.
Your screen fizzy can turn around.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to show your teacher your work, you can just turn it around.
Oh, okay.
Students, Chelsea and Fizzy, getting to grips with the technology.
In school I use a brown note, so I might be using a mixture of a brown note and a laptop. But I heard a brown note touch has come out, so that might be useful as well.
I use Supernova on the laptop. So in Supernova I could change the colour of my screen. So it's not black on white, it's white on black. I can then change the magnification on it.
News update. Ah, wrong there. Activation, there we go. Let's have a look. Oh, this is a laptop, you see, it keeps crashing.
That voice you can hear is Tobias. He's 13 years old, looking at NVDA with touch support. Is that right, Tobias?
I am.
Tell me what you think of it.
Well, it's good, all right, but the touch support doesn't really work. I'll admit it. I can't use touch gestures on this.
Have you worked it out?
You have.
What do you think of the Innovation Hub, Tobias?
It's very good, actually, thanks. I'm quite interested. It would be good for, experimenting with new things and teaching people other stuff. On the whole, it's a good idea, really. You might not have noticed this, but I love teaching people about using technology because it's my favorite subject. So if someone asks me, hey, can you tell me about such and such, I will spend the next half an hour just blabbering on about it.
I'm standing in front of a very large smart screen and with Freddie, who's in year 9, and the school's vice principal, Sean Shaw. Freddie, you're very interested in photography.
Yeah.
Tell me about the photography course you're doing.
The photography course has got 18 modules and you can go back and forward on them, so you can keep going back to see what you've done in the past.
And how does this screen help you?
The screen is touch screen and you can go up and down and it's like a big iPad, and you can zoom in on photos and whatever you need to see on the screen.
So what photo have you got in front of you there? Maybe we could zoom in on that one.
The photo that's in front of me is of a dog.
This is a picture of a dog's snout. And the thing that's so good for Freddie and other students is that it just, as well as enlarging it, you keep the detail.
I can really see.
Yes.
I can see the veins almost.
Yes. So this is really good because it's got clarity.
And sometimes when you zoom in on a normal laptop, it goes blurry.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It makes the dog's nose look a bit wet.
As Freddie continues with the course, his photos will be up here too. And then people can comment on them, they can give suggestions, shadows, light, contrast, that sort of thing. So it's really exciting.
What do you think about the hub generally, Freddie?
I think it's a good room and I think it'll be helpful for the students in the school.
That was Freddie ending Tom Walker's report. And that's it for today. Do let us have your views on anything you've heard in the programme. From me, Peter Wight, producer Cheryl Gabriel and the team. Goodbye.